Hello there, it's Jan here from JB Crafts. I'm back today with a new tutorial for you, and again something a little bit different. I've been having a play with some sort of older bits and pieces, and again, advocating that using up your stash. So yeah, I've been delving into the stash and I've got loads of scraps out. I've used a paper pad that I haven't touched for a very long time, and I'm going to show you how to make a very cute little gift folio today. And this is all made, the actual folio itself is all made from one sheet of 12 by 12 paper. So if I just pop this in here, this is the paper that I chose. I've gone for that gorgeous lilac colour, and we're going to cut into this to make the actual folio. And then the decorating, I've got some of the decorating to do today. I'm not going to do the whole thing because I don't want the video to be too long, but I have got some of the decoration just to show you how I actually pop some of these little sort of arrangements together. So first of all, apologies for I've half brought my coffee this morning. It's very early. I don't normally bring my drinks in here when I'm videoing, but it's very early. I've only had one cup of coffee this morning. I'm off out with my little grandbabies today. We're off out to a local farm to go and do a tour of the farm. So yeah, I'm getting this done early so that I can pop out and spend some time with those today. So yeah, still need the extra coffee, the extra caffeine hit yet. So yeah, let's show you the folio. Let's move the piece of paper first so that that's not too distracting, and then we'll cut into that in a minute. So lovely little sort of arrangement on the front here, and again, as I say, just going through the stash using my stamps, using some die cuts. This is a really old, it's one of my favourites still. It's a really old butterfly die cut from Crafter's Companion, and I still go back to it time and time again, using, as I say, lots and lots of bits of scrap. But it opens up and it's sort of got like pockets, and the idea is it's like a card and a gift card all in one. It's like a little gift all together, so you can pop all sorts of things in here. I mean, I've just to show you that there is pockets, I've just made like a little element where you could jot some notes down, so it could actually be some dates to remember. It could be birthdays, things like that, and that will just pop here in the pocket. I just need to glue that bit back down by the looks of it. So that one just slides in here, and then we've got another opening in here, and we've got the gift card inside, and this is just a blank, an old one that I use for purpose of crafting, but you can slot, it could be you want for a nice coffee, or it could be a gift card for a store, anything like that. And then we've got another pocket on the back here, and I've just made a cute little envelope. So again, you could pop a little note in there, if you wanted to add some extra cash as well as the gift card, you could pop that in there. As I say, you'll see lots of stamping, lots of these little bits of sort of stamped ephemera on here. And then we've got one more, and this is just decoration inside now, so sort of like you could add extra pockets if you wish, entirely up to you. This one I've actually put an extra piece in here, and we've got a tag, so again, if you were going somewhere, you could pop extra tickets in here, you could make notes on the back of it, and that just slides into the back. So again, as I say, optional whether you want to add this. I'm going to show you how to do this if you want to add the pockets in, but yeah, basically cutting into that big 12 by 12 sheet, and this is the kind of thing that you can make. Now, I haven't decorated the back. You can put something on the back. You could put a piece, you could put a mat layer on here to write a message on if you wish, but I thought, you could actually write, there's places inside here where you could write a little message to the recipient. So I'm going to show you how I've put it together. I thoroughly enjoyed doing this. This is very much my type of crafting. I got sort of sidetracked a little bit while I was working for Crafter's Companion, because obviously we were promoting their own products, but this is very much my kind of thing. I love anything like this, that's sort of like popping things together, all the stamping elements, adding the die cuts, delving into that stash, and as I say, using bits and pieces up that have been sat there for absolutely ages. So we'll put that to one side as a guide. I'm going to follow that as a guide today. I am just going to take a quick sip of the old coffee there just to keep me going, and then we're going to bring in my piece of paper. Now, it is a pattern piece, and this is from an old paper pad from Crafter's Companion. I went through my paper. You could do this with absolutely any. It doesn't even have to be double-sided. I'm going to show you how you can sort of address that if it's not a double-sided sheet of paper. But I loved this patterning on here. Absolutely loved it. It's from a collection called Venetian. You can see here we've got the chap in the gondola going under the bridge here. Absolutely beautiful. And then I've used that gorgeous lilac side for the cover. Now I've just very briefly, and this was more for my benefit, because I put this one together and then thought, right, I need to work out what I've done. So I've done sort of a diagram here of how I'm going to chop into the paper. So we're going to make a couple of cuts. If I turn my paper this way so that I've got the pattern going this way, we're going to make a couple of vertical cuts at 5 inches. So I'm going to cut off a 5-inch strip, and that's the height of my little folio. It measures 5 inches tall and it's 4 inches wide. So we're going to make a cut that is 5 inches, and then we're going to make a second cut at 5 inches, and that'll leave me a 2-inch strip at the top that I can actually make some of the extra pockets for. And then we're going to do some scoring as well. So let's get first of all, let's get the guillotine. And like I said, I'm going to turn it. You want to turn it so that your pattern is running this way. Now on this side it doesn't matter, but obviously this side there is an orientation to the pattern, so I'm going to keep it that way up just to remind myself that I need to go this way. And I'm actually going to cut a 5-inch section off the bottom here. So just make sure everything's lined up. You want this to be as straight as you possibly can. All right, and give that a good chop. And then we're going to cut a second 5-inch panel. So the same again, lining it up at the 5-inch mark there. Make sure it's all nice and straight and give it a chop. So we've got our 2 5-inch strips here. We're going to score those in a minute. And then if I just check my details here, I'm going to use this piece here now. And I want to make a pocket that is 5 inches by 2. Well, I know this is my 2-inch strip that's left. And we're going to do a pocket at 5 inches. Okay, so I want one that's 5, so that's that one. Okay, we're going to put that to our pile of pieces. And then this one is going to go inside. So whereas I said my folder was 4 inches, I'm just going to bring it down to about 3 7/8. In fact, we'll go for that last little mark, which is a 1/16 of an inch. So just a smidge under 4, purely because we're going to be folding around this one. So you don't want it to interfere with the fold line. And then this is the little tiny piece that I've got left. So that goes back into the scrap box, or it may be used, you know, you could punch flowers out of here to add to your decorations, things like that. I actually dyed a piece of cardstock to cut me. You can see where I've cut all my little flowers out for the decoration, but quite as easily you could pop them out of there. So again, as I say, keep the scraps just in case. So next job then is, in fact, I'll keep that because we've got the measurements on there. We're going to take our pieces, we're going to bring the scoreboard in. Just grab my, I've got that much stuff. If you saw the sides of the desk, it looks like the Leaning Tower of Pisa, and it's like I only need to touch one thing and I think the whole thing's going to come crashing down. So yeah, let me just grab those. I've not got those out. So we're going to start off with these 2 long pieces. Okay, now one of them I do need to take a smidge off the end of it, and I'm going to take that off the first piece. So just bring the guillotine back in. I forgot about this piece here. And this sort of my folio developed as I went along. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reduce this one. So I've got my long one here. This is the one that measures 12 inches by 5. Okay. And then I'm also going to take this one down to 10 3/4 inches. Okay. So I'm just going to chop a little tiny bit off the end here. We'll go... Doesn't really matter which side. In fact, no, I'll take it off this side here. So we're going to measure it at 10 3/4 inches. And we've got another little scrap piece there that you could incorporate as a decoration, or you could add it, you know, sort of as an extra little pocket. There's all sorts of possibilities for something like this, and I will do more of these on the channel, just showing you how you can utilize your papers and things like that. So I'm going to put that with the scrap one so that I don't get mixed up. So we're going to start with the full piece, the long piece here. Let's just move these ones out of the way for a minute so that we don't get mixed up. And we're going to follow my guide here. So on the long piece, I'm going to score, I want a 2-inch panel, then a 4-inch, then another 4-inch, and that will leave us 2. So what I'm actually going to do then, I'm going to score this side so that I can see what I'm doing. I'm going to score at 2 inches from the end here, nice and gently, because it is only paper, it's not cardstock. And then we want to score, we want a 4-inch panel, so that's going to take me to 6 inches. So that should be the center of your piece of cardstock. And then I'm going to flip it round, just because I've got my small scoreboard out. If you've got your big scoreboard, you could carry on, but I want another 2-inch panel at this end. Did I score that first? Well, that first one's not at 2 inches, Jan. That was a good start, wasn't it? So that means my measurements are out. Yeah, it's that one. So that one wants to be there. So don't, you know, do as I say. We just need to, yeah. So I'll show you how we can work that other score line out in a second. Yeah, so 2 inches, 4 inches, 4 inches, and 2 inches. That's my first piece. And then the second piece, the second long piece that we trimmed a little piece off the edge. Okay, I want 2 4-inch panels and then the 2 3/4 piece left at the end. All right, so I want to go for, let's have a look. We need the, I'm just thinking of the layout here. That's the piece that's going to turn back. So I want my 2 3/4 here. And then that should leave me a piece that measures 8. Yep, and we're going to score that down the centre at 4. And when I fold it, you'll see a bit better what I've actually done with it. So pop that to one side, and then we're going to burnish the fold. So we'll go back to the original piece, and all I'm going to do is with my bone folder, where I've put that extra score line in, I can't really see it very well here, but I am just going to press it back because it makes a little ridge. I'm just going to press it back down so that I don't get confused. And we're going to pop decoration over these anyway. So yeah, we want to fold it on that correct line here. And again, when you're making anything like this that's construction, make sure that all the edges meet up nice and straight. And I'm going to fold that one in. Okay. And then we need to fold the center. So I'm going to do the score line at the center here, which is that halfway mark. So just pop that one in. And again, making sure that it is all nice and straight when you fold it up. And then we're also going to pop, for the time being, we're going to fold all these in. I need to double check which way. Some of them fold back on themselves eventually, but again, just make sure it's all running nice and flat. And we've got the makings here now. Is there a right way, wrong way? Yeah, that way. We've got the makings of our little 5x4 booklet. You can see there the little folio. Okay. Now this one, again, we want to make sure that it, down that 4-inch line, it's folded in on itself like so. Like this. And then this one, I know this edge wants to go back this way, I believe, like so. All right, so this is going to be the front. Is that right, Jan? Have I done it the wrong way around? We'll soon work it out. As I say, I make these things and I think, oh, I've got to recreate this now. It might be that way. Yeah, it's that way. So this is going to be that front cover. You can see where the purple line finishes here. And then this is the pattern from the inside. So this one is the one that wants to fold back this way. Like so. So we're going to get this, we're going to stick these together so we've got this distinction. You can see here we've got the pattern showing and the lilac showing. Okay, so then when we turn it to the inside, we've got a plain panel. Yep. And then when we go for the inside again, we've got our pocket. This one will become the pocket here. So this is going to be the inside. And then we turn it again and we've got the 2 pages here. And then the final page here, we made that long pocket for with our pieces that was left over. And this is going to go on this end like so. Okay, so this one, the other piece that we cut will be to create this pocket just here. So let's get all that put together and you'll see how it all sticks and fits together. So let's have a little look then. So first thing I'm going to do, this one's fine. I'm going to bring in my corner rounder because I do want to have some rounded edges on my little folder. So the first thing I'm going to do is use it on the front here, and I'm going to go on the largest setting, and I'm just going to round. I just think they, again, not necessary if you don't have a corner rounder. I just like the softness that it brings to that edge. So this is going to be the actual outside part of the booklet here, like so. So we'll pop that to one side for a minute. And this one, I want to round this outside. What will be the outside edge? So I'm going to go through both layers here and create a rounded edge on this one. So I know that this is going to now fit in here, and we've got those two sets of rounded edges just to make the front of the booklet look nice. And then if I follow the guidelines inside here, we need that pocket for the inside. So this little piece I've got here, I'm going to round the top edges of this one as well. And I'm going to keep the lilac part showing on this side here. And then the last thing I'm going to do for that is I'm going to bring in my circle punch, and about halfway down that rounded edge, I'm just going to take out a little finger notch. So I'm just going to eyeball that I've got about the same space at each side and take out a little piece here. So we've now got our pocket piece that's going to go on here like so. That's this one. Yep. This one is going to be a pocket. So again, I want to round. I'm going to pop this one to one side for a second. Oh, I've just knocked everything off. I knew I would do. This one's going to be a pocket. So again, I like to round the corners just on the edges of the pockets. It just adds a little bit of something, I think. Like so. And when it's a pocket, I'm going to pop that finger pull. It just gives people a hint that it's there as a pocket. So we'll just move the bits to the side for a minute. So we've now got the front piece like so. We've got our pocket that's going to go on the inside here, and we've got this pocket just here. So we're good to go for that bit. We'll fold that over. This side I kept perfectly straight, but we did put the piece in here if you wanted to add the tag. Okay. And then I need this one creating a pocket on this side. So again, we want those corners off. So there's a lot of repetition. You can see where I'm heading with it. And again, I'm just going to go straight in the middle again with the circle punch. If you don't have a circle punch, you can draw around something circular and just cut it out with your scissors. But this is going to form this piece on this side. So get rid of all the scraps there. We don't need those. They can go in the bin. And then we're about ready to stick together. So I did a lot of inking on mine. You know that I love my inking. And because we were working with a cooler colour, normally I would ink most things in Vintage Photo. Just have a little sit there before it goes cold. Yeah, normally I work with Vintage Photo for a lot of things, but because this is more of a cool tone, I've gone for greys with this one. I thought, and what happened was, again, coincidental, the grey sort of brought out the lilac. Because this is a blue lilac sort of shade, it just brought out the patterning in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take, and this is an oxide, it could easily be an ink if you don't have the oxide, and then it's just me. I just like to, and it's a really quick process, but I'll just show you the difference. And you should hopefully be able to see this on camera. And I just think it makes a world of difference. So if you think, oh, Josh, she's off on one again, you can fast forward through this bit. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but I do like it. And if I show you the one that we cut here, let's move this out of the way. I just think it just makes such a difference. You know, this is really, it's fine. And this is, if you like that more clean look, absolutely fine. For me, Can you see how it's just sort of brought that edge out and it stands out a bit better? So yeah, all the edges, every single part of this has been inked. So yeah, like I said, if you're not into this and you sort of, you know, it's like watching paint dry, Jan, then you can fast forward and just skip through this bit. I don't edit a lot of my videos unless it's absolutely necessary. So sometimes I will sort of, you know, pop in and speed them up a little bit if there's something that you don't need to see a lot of. But yeah, most of the time I don't actually edit the videos. So again, we're going to take the 2 pieces of the actual booklet, the folio, before I stick anything down. It's just taking that ink to it, and like I say, it doesn't take long, but I just think it makes such a difference. So we'll just start with the pieces that are going to be stuck down so that I don't literally bore you to tears with all the inking. And then we want that piece is not going to show, this edge is going to show, so it's mainly where I've rounded the corners, and then the rest of it can be done, you know, later on or at the end. So we'll just add that bit on that front section here. And again, you know, it is a personal thing. Any of you that know me know that I love my inks, and it's something that I use all the time. I have them right in front of me on my desk. They've got pride place sort of right across the front of me, the whole colour span. But I just think, you know, it stands out so much better, in my opinion, to just a plain edge. So we will leave it there for a minute. I might do some more. I will make no apologies. I might do some more as we go along. Okay, so we've got all the bits that we need. So what we'll do is we'll get this popped together. Now what I am going to show you is where I've added the extra papers. And you might think, well, why did you use a double-sided sheet, Jan? So yeah, you know, there is a valid question there. But I just felt the inside part of here, let's have a look, it's going to go that way like that. Yeah, this dude now has ended up sort of being cut in half. But we're not going to see him, he's going to go on there, so that one's okay. And actually, the way this one's fell, it doesn't look too bad. So you may not want to add the extra pieces of paper. The way I cut this one, I'd got the gondola guy, I forget what the gondoliers are they? He landed here in this bit, because I'd folded it differently originally, and I felt that it was way too distracting for what I wanted on the inside, which is why I've added other pieces, and I'll show you what I did. I don't know whether I'm actually going to add them to this one because this doesn't look too bad. So let's put it back together again. It's going to go like so, like that, and then that one folds inside. Okay, so first of all, just on this front edge, I wanted to break up between these 2 pieces. So what I will do, and again, I did make apologies because the ink's out again, and I've got this piece that's going to fold back here. We do need to pop a little bit around this edge that's going to show here. So it's mainly, like I said, where I've actually put the rounded corners. Those are the bits that are going to be the edges of the book. I'm not bothered about this side because we're going to stick something over there. So that's that one done. Yep. And like I said, to break up here between these 2, I've just gone for a different coloured piece like so. And again, it's just adding a bit of interest in there. And I've just used one of my edging dies. I think I've shown you this one before. This is a really, really old one from Magnolia. I had this when I first started crafting, and I still love it. It's a really pretty wobbly lace edge, which I've inked up again. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to trap that under here just to break up that section between the lilac and the pattern. Again, not necessary, it looks fine like this, it's just adding a bit of interest. We're going to cover a lot of it up with the detail at the front, but you can just see elements of it here and through the little framework. Okay, and this part, when I actually designed the first one, came together by accident, which is why I ended up popping this in as well. I've actually cut it and folded it slightly different this time now that I know what I wanted to do with it. So we'll save that piece to go in there. And let's have a look where we need to be. We need to pop, every time I touch anything, there's a risk of an avalanche happening. Yeah, we're going to need to pop these on. So we'll get these in to be drying. So I'm just going to use my acrylic glue. I find this works easier. If you like your double-sided tape, I have no problem with double-sided tape. You've seen me use it before. I've got a stash of it here at the side of me. But when you're making pockets, I find with the double-sided tape that there's always the residue of the tape. And when you put something in, it sometimes catches and sticks to the actual pocket. So let me just, I haven't used this one yet today. Let me just make sure that it's going to behave. Just make sure we've got the glue flowing nicely. It feels okay. Because quite often when I come on camera, it decides it's not going to play. So this is our pocket. I'm going to hold it with the finger tab, and I want to put just the tiniest line. Come on, don't let me down. I've just checked you. There we go. Down the edge. Down this side. And this is why I like the glue, because once it's dried, there's no tackiness left to it. Whereas, as I say, I found with the tape that sometimes you still get that little tacky edge. And if you pop something inside the pocket, it can stick to the tape. And then we're going to take this one. All right, so this is the one that we've got the fold back on. And I am literally going to pop this one in here. And we can round that corner to match it up afterwards. So I want to make sure that the bottom edge and this outside edge match. And you will have a little tiny gap here, which is what will allow it to fold properly. So yeah, we're just going to press those sides down, press the bottom down, and leave that to actually do its job. And then I can literally just pop this in here and match that corner piece up. And you know what's coming next. We've made that raw edge on there. So I need to just go back in, and we've got that pocket on this side. So we've now got a space where we can pop something inside there. All right, so I'm going to let it dry. I'm not going to mess around too much with it until it's dried. So that's that piece. All right, then we're going to have a look, and we need to stick this one down the same. So this was the piece that we folded in from the end. Now, because this one's on a fold, I don't need to do anything across the bottom. I am literally just going to pop glue along this side and this bottom edge here. And we're going to pop this one. And I actually quite like the way the pattern's landed on this one. I'm not going to put the insert pieces in, but I have got them. I will show you what size you need if you want to, or if you've used a single-sided paper. So we've now created that little pocket here to put your next sort of gift element in. Okay, so that's this one. So if you did decide, like I did here, that you wanted to back, or if you've used a single-sided paper, got lots of bits lying around here, Jan. Let's just tidy up for a second, because it can get a bit distracting with all the bits. Pop that one up there. Yeah, I have got some pieces cut. I was planning to, but the way this one's fell, I'm not too concerned about it. So this one at this side, I've got a piece that measures 5 inches by 4. Okay, so 4 is the width. It's not 5 by 4, Jan. What are you talking about? It's not that long. Where's my ruler gone? It's 4 by 4, Jan, not 5 by 4. So let's just make an adjustment there. 4 by 4. It doesn't need to be 5 inches deep. And I actually did this before I put the pocket in place. I stuck this in so that it was lower than the pocket, rounded the corner on this edge, and then stuck the pocket over the top. So you can see here, I've got that background paper underneath. And if you are wanting to do any stamping or anything like that, it's sometimes beneficial, because this probably wouldn't show up on the pattern. But like I said, I wasn't going to do the whole of the decoration today, because I think it will make the video too long. Okay, leave that with that one. This side, I've got another scrap. Okay, and this one measures 5 inches tall by 2.5. It just needs to be long enough to hide inside here and then stick the pocket down over the top. So you can see in this one I've got that element of plain paper. It doesn't go all the way down, it doesn't need to, as long as it just covers the inside of the pocket. So that was that one. All right, so that we don't need that piece. I'm not going to put them in this time because I quite like the way this has landed. So that's my first part done. We'll leave that as it is. I am going to stick, this bit can be stuck down. We don't need this to be like a little flap. So I'm just going to again run a bit of glue. It doesn't need to be massively because we're going to stick something else over the top of it, but I am going to stick that bit back. So this is the beginnings of the inside element of our booklet. Okay, we'll leave that one to dry. And then I'm going to bring this one back. Okay, so this is the piece now that's going to wrap around here like so. Yep. So this inside piece here is the bit that's I've got the tag in. So if we look at this now, close this one, we've got this piece. This was the back of the booklet that we've just stuck together. This is going to be the inside piece, and this is the piece that we're going to put that last pocket on here like so. So let's do the pocket first because that's straightforward. That's just like we've done, and because it's an outside edge, I am going to put the glue the same. We're going to go down the top and the bottom edge here, the short edges, and then down the straight edge. And this is why I always put the finger notch in first, because then it shows me which way around, particularly if you've got a directional paper. And then I am going to turn it just because I find it easier to line things up this way. And we're just going to line that up with that outside edge there, and it should line up perfectly on there. And then just give it a press where you've put that glue, and you've got another element here to pop something inside. Okay, now if you want to add the pocket piece in here, all right, we're going to do this piece inside, making sure that it all folds. Again, I've cut it slightly narrower. It's 5 inches tall, but I've only gone 3 7/8, which leaves plenty of clearance now on the folds, because we're going to have this bit inside as well. Okay, in here I didn't want to make any bulk on those fold lines. Okay, so this one, we know what's coming next. I'm just going to get the ink out again here. I need to go round, and we will put this one in so that I can show you how it all fits together. And again, it's very, very busy, this bit in the back, which is why I put the extra piece of paper in. So again, all the way around the edge, just to finish it off. And then we'll get this one. And again, this is going to be stuck just on 3 sides again to create the pocket. So again, I've got the finger pole. I'm going to hold it with the finger bit so that I don't glue that bit by mistake. And we're going to go down the long sides, across the bottom. And you just want a little thin, you know, the less room you take up with the glue, the more room you've got to slide a tag or whatever you're going to pop inside. And then I'm just going to center this so that I've got about a 1/16 of an inch on each side, and just make sure that you've got, if you hold it up, you can see there, and because you've used that wet glue, you've got that little tiny minute to maneuver. So can you see how I've got like a little bit here that's going to hold the spine of that other piece, and then this one's the one that's going to fold across all the pieces. So again, just make sure that you've got that clearance to fold it all up. Everything should fold nice and neat without any sort of interference. And we've now got the option to slide another element in the top here. Okay, so the last thing we need to do now is pop these two together. So all I'm going to do now is actually stick this one to the front, which will hold it all together, and then we've got our elements that will all fold in. But just before I do that, so I'm going to keep it like this so that I know what I'm working on. I want to bring in that little element here. And all I'm going to do is run some glue down this side. I only want the little lacy edge peeking out. So again, these are all scraps out of my scrapbooks. I've just picked something that went. I sort of gone with those grey tones. And I want to pop this underneath here so that there is just a little bit of that lace element showing. Excuse me. Okay, so I'm going to line this edge up. I'm going to line this edge up here, like so that we've got a nice straight edge top and bottom. Give that a press. And then we're going to stick the whole of this side to the one that we turned this back on. Okay, now if you want another little tuck spot, you can leave this part open and just stick across the top and the bottom, but then it restricts you to just sticking embellishments on the front here. Okay, so I'm actually going to close all of this. I think we've got enough areas to stick everything down, and just because this is a bit bigger area, rather than going with my fine tip applicator on the other glue, and I don't want it to feel left out. You know how much I love this one. I am actually going to pop some of my all-purpose, and I'm going to go right over the back of this panel on the left-hand side here. This is all going to stick down now to that front panel. So we're going to go right across here. This glue helps to firm everything up as well. And then we want to make sure, again, that everything's lined up and that this is pushed into that fold line, and then bring this down and hold it until that glue grabs. So the collal does grab pretty quickly. Pop that one back for a second. Okay, just make sure we've got everything in place, and then we've got our little folio complete. Now you might want to sort of leave it there and just pop a greeting. If you want to make this into a card, it could just be a happy birthday on the front of here, and then you could pop your gifts in the little pockets. But you know Jan, she's got to go mad with it. I love the decorating side of things. So whereas I'm not going to do the whole caboodle, the whole thing, because I think it will make the video too long, I am going to show you certain parts of it. I'm going to do the front, and then I've got some of these clusters made already that we can just stick in place. Okay, stamping, you know, there are elements of stamping on here. Get your stamps out, have a look at what you've got there, and you know, so to go to town with them. It's a great opportunity to get all those different bits and pieces out, as I say, using that stash. This is what I've advocated right from the beginning with the channel. Excuse me, it's good cold already. Never get to drink a full cup of coffee. Yeah, I've advocated right from the beginning of the channel, get delving in that stash. We all hoard our supplies. We don't want to use them just in case one day we might need something. And I'm the same. I've got stuff. I've got paper pads that I've bought and haven't touched because, oh, they're so pretty. I've got paper pads that I bought a second one of so that I could just keep one to look at. Let's use them. Let's use them. I am drowning in paper in this place. It is, I always say to my husband, I hope to goodness, my worst fear is that there's a fire in my craft room, because it would go up like a, I don't know what. There's so much paper in here that it would literally, and that would be it gone forever. It's not something, how would you replace the items in your craft room? How would you come to catalogue what you've got in your craft room? So get in that stash, get it out, and let's use it. Now then, I've got a little tiny piece there. Is it? Oh no, it looked as if it was hanging over the edge, but it's not. What I want to do, just so that it doesn't catch, is pop a tiny bit. I think that's what was bothering me. Little tiny bit of glue just under that corner, just to make sure. That one's rounded, so that's not so bad, but that one was going to bug me that it was just keep sticking up. So I have made a lot of the embellishments. I have got a whole, you've got my little dish again. I'm in love with this little dish. I found this with the Easter stuff, and I couldn't resist. Look in the bottom. Look at his little face in the bottom here. So this is going to become the sort of prep dish, I think. So I'll talk you through all the pieces, but I've got lots of bits ready to go. All right, good to go. I'll talk you through what I've done and how I've arrived at them. So I'm going to pop that at the top. We'll move the ink for now. I'm not going to move him too far because I might need it again. And we're going to look at decorating this front panel. So I've got this lovely frame on here as part of my sort of embellishment cluster on the front. And this is made really, really easy. Really, really easy. It is same scraps of card as what I've used for those pieces that I added in. So it's the same pieces of just scrap. As I say, I went through the book and had a look, through the box and had a look. And this measures 3 inches square. So I've cut myself a double piece. I actually cut it 6 inches and then folded it in half. And then I've just used one of my square nesting dies to create a little window. And then I've actually trapped inside it. This is, again, delving in that stash. You know, I advocate it. I do it myself. What did I do with the pieces? Let's have a look. I've got some little bits of this left. And again, something I've had for absolutely forever. And now I don't know what I did with the scraps. I've got some little scraps of it. And it's like a meshing, lilac mesh. And it's got these lovely little spots. Let me pop it over here and you'll be able to see it better, look. So I thought it was perfect. It was the perfect colour match for the paper that I was using. And it's just got this little tiny bit of texture with the spots. So what I've done is I've trapped that inside before I stuck the 2 frames together. All right, so that's going to be the main part of the embellishment. And I said I wasn't going to put it too far away because, again, I thought I'd done this, but I haven't. I just want to add, and I'm going to keep most of it with that grey ink. And again, I'm going to show you. I know I keep harping on about it, and you're probably like, oh, stop, you know, stop with the same old tune, Jan. But look at the sides that are inked, and look at the one that isn't. You know, I'm going to convert you all before I've done, honestly. I know a lot of you do this, and a lot of you that have followed me for a while know that it's something that I can't not do now. It's just glaringly obvious that it needs screaming out for a little bit of ink. But yeah, this is going to be the main part of the front here. And I'm going to centre that towards the top so that we've got a bit more detail here. And then I've got a little scrap. And this is just graph paper. This is just a sheet. I've got a whole pad of graph paper. So again, I've just used that. And I've used a little decal edge die just to create a, you know, an interesting shape on the edge. And this is going to go underneath here, like so. So that's going to be the beginnings of our decoration at the front. And then I've got a lot of bits and pieces. Let me grab all these bits out of here. These are all the bits that we're going to use. And you might think, oh my goodness, Jan, overkill. But we can. So I've got a couple of little snippet bits, and these are from my Tim Holtz curator set. I saw where I punched these, and this is a little tiny die. I love this. It's really small and it just does the trick. And this was a little bit of my what did I do with that one? This is actually distressed mica stain that I'd used to splatter some of the elements, and I'd got a bit of ink left on the mat. Picked the ink up so I didn't waste it, and I had this little scrap that was the same colour scheme. So yeah, punched the flowers out and added some little beads in the middle of those. The butterfly, like I said, let me see if I can find, what did I do with all the packaging? Let me see if I can find it here. I've got a big pile behind me of all the bits that I use that I need to now put away. What did I do with it? Yeah, this one. Again, this was one of the very early collections when I first started working with Crafter's Companion. It was called Shabby Chic. It was a Sarah signature collection, and you got this beautiful set of 3 butterflies. And as I say, even now, I mean, I'm going back to probably around about, I started working for them in 2016, so I would say 16, 17. So I'm going back a long time. Some of you might have them in the stash. If you don't, any butterfly, I have got other butterfly dies. I've got a ton of them, but I do go back to this one. I love them so much that I got 2 sets, and that way I can cut lots of them all at once. So you can see him, he's the middle size there. And again, I've just cut this out of some scrap. I pulled some scrap out of my stash that fits. And again, let's have a look. This piece here was just a scrap that had got a similar colourway on. Didn't like the back of it at all, but I've cut the butterfly out of some of that, and again inked it with that grey ink, so he's going to go on there. stamped my sentiment here. Follow your dreams. I just think it's a really nice sentiment on a little die cut. We've got that one to use. Got another little stamped piece, a little label with some numbers stamped in it there. This was a sticker. Well, it's not a sticker, it's a piece of ephemera. I think this was out of a Tim Holtz pack. Again, I've had it years, not used it, not known what to do with it. Apologies, I have to keep having the drink this morning. And I thought, yeah, we'll have a go with these. We're going to pop that in there. I've got a little flag banner, which I've done with my little flag punch here. Again, any scraps that you've got left. You know, I kept using this bit earlier to, you know, to show you the pockets. Just go along and stamp out your little banners, you know, and pop them in a little tub so that you've got them to use ready. So things like that. Anything that's left, when I go through the scrap pile, punch out circles, punch out the little banners, things like that. We've got that one. And then I've got a piece of vellum. And I'll explain why I did this one. I've just cut a label shape out of a piece of scrap vellum. All right, so just bear with me because I can now feel, with the sneezing, it's made my nose run. We're getting into those nice sunny days now, so the hay fever's kicking in big time. There we go. So we're going to arrange all these together and make a little sort of cluster of embellishments to go on the front of here. So the first thing that I want to do, and this is about thinking about working from the back forwards. I could say, right, I'm going to stick this down, I'm going to stick this down, but I want to tuck this little guy just under the edge of here before we actually stick that piece down. So what I'm going to do is pop a tiny bit of glue, and I have inked around the edge of these ready. I'm going to put a little bit of the embellishment glue across the top here. And I get the tweezers because they're like an extension of my hand. I'm going to pop this in place roughly where I want it, about there. And then I'm just going to slide this under the edge and position it whereabouts I want that to go. So about there, I'm just sort of eyeballing where I want it to sit. And then we can stick this piece down. So I've tried to sort of prep as much of it as I can. And I've got some double-sided tape because this is just a flat piece and we're going to have other embellishments on top. And I've just stuck the little banner over the top of it, but we should be able to get the liner there easy out of there. And then this piece then is going to go on here, and I'm going to leave about the same space at the top, maybe a little bit more at the top there, and just position that so that it's running. And I'm looking at this edge with this edge to make sure that, because it's got lines on it, I want it to run straight. Okay, add the stamps out, just stamped a little number on here, and then I've actually got foam tape on the back of this one. So this can go down, I think, next, because the majority of it is, there's just one more piece I need to stick down first, but the majority of it is built on top of the frame. So we will take the liner paper off the tape, and it's my Sticks 2 double-sided tape, which I am in love with. So we'll have that ready just for a second, but this little guy here, the little purple guy, I'm going to put this upside down so that I don't stick it just yet. This one's going to just pop out the edge of the panel there. So again, a little bit of glue. I'm going to hold this as if it's going to go this way like so. And then I want him to just pop out from underneath like that before we stick it down. And again, it's just adding those bits of interest. So this one can now go in place. And I want to see some of the graph paper popping out the edge. I want the little tag out the edge. And I'm going to use the lines on the graph paper to make sure that that one is nice and straight. Okay, so if you don't have anything like this, you could pop a piece of acetate in here. It doesn't actually need anything in. It's not serving any purpose other than adding a bit of interest. So, you know, if you don't have anything, leave the gap inside here clear. Could put acetate in here. If you use acetate, it would make a great little shaker element on the front. You could add another level of interest if you want to pop some shaker pieces in there. So we've got that frame sat down now. And then I just started working on these elements here. So I've got the big piece is going to go across the bottom like this. This one is in the background, and I only want glue down this side because the rest of it hangs over this sort of mesh in the middle. So yeah, I'm just going to use that as a placement and pop that one on the edge there. Hold that down for a minute. That one's going to go there. Then I had my sentiment, which is going to come just to the edge, just slightly off the edge so that you can see that shaping. I've got another piece here that I was just going to pop underneath like so. And then the butterfly is going to go on this corner. Now, to me, this was too bold. All right, I love the idea of this element here, this cardstock element, but it was too bold, which is where the vellum came in. So just by slotting the vellum underneath here, you can still see bits of this piece, but it's just dulled it down a little bit so that it wasn't, because it's in the background, I didn't want it to overtake, you know, that was the first thing that you saw, which is where the piece of vellum came in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to arrange the pieces on here first so that I know roughly where I want these to go. So we're going to go about there, and then this little guy is going to stick underneath, so we can pop some glue on this one. And I'm going to pop that one so that you can see a bit of it sticking out. But I want to pull that one out. Yeah, so that one's going on there, like so. And then this one is going to stick over the top, like so. And just because we're working onto the vellum there, I'm going to grab a little bit of my red line tape. It tends to be what I use most when I'm working with vellum. I'm going to pop that under this bottom corner here and then stick that to the vellum piece so that I've got all those in. Ooh. Preferably just take the liner off it, Jan. I don't know what happened there. I'd obviously got under the tape and the whole thing. Oh, shall we try that again? Do you know, this is what happens when I start this early in the morning. Brain's not functioning properly. Let's try that again. For some reason, the whole piece of tape decided to escape, and then it's taken a bit of surface off the card, but it is only the back of it, fortunately. So let's try that again, shall we? Put that down there. I'm going to give it a really proper burnish down this time. And then we just need to take the red line off, Jan. There we go. Got it this time. And then we can actually pop this bit sort of along here. So I'm looking at my original one to look at sort of the positioning. And I think it's about there, like so. Yep. So we've got our little sort of cluster there, which will now fit in place over the top. So this one, I'm going to just pop some glue all the way across, rather than trying to guess whereabouts I want it on the back of the die cut piece. I'm just going to pop it right over the frame like so, and then we're going to pop this piece sort of about there like that. Hold that one down. And then we've got this one to go over the top. So I want it to just sort of nestle around those numbers so that I'm not covering up too much of the numbers. And I am going to put another piece of tape. I'm going to hide it behind the little tab on the vellum, just to help the vellum stick down. So here, I'm going to pop this on the back of the tab there and just cheat a little bit so that we've got that, because vellum's not the easiest thing to stick without it showing. I don't really need any more of it stuck. And then the rest of it, we're going to have a tiny little bit of it over there, but the rest of it is actually going to be on here. So again, I'm going to pop the glue on the frame rather than trying to guess where I want it on the back of here. And because, you know, it is only sort of a set of embellishments, I'm not worried that the rest of it isn't stuck down. We could probably pop a little bit on the back of here, because that's going to go over the cardstock. And then I want this one to just nestle nicely round that number with a little bit of the tag so that we can see that nice cut edge. And I'm not worried that this bit's not stuck down because there's enough of it secured. And then we're going to add our butterfly in. Okay, so he's got a little bit of tape on the back ready. And I'm hoping that we don't do the same again. I think I was a bit heavy-handed, and maybe I hadn't burnished it down properly. Maybe it was my own fault. And this one then is going to just nestle, and I want to just shape. I've got some beads in the middle there. Shape the wings a little bit so that it's not totally flat. And again, I'm going to pop him in here. So this is securing the vellum. Don't want to cover up the sentiment, so I'm just going to sort of tack him as if he's hugging the sentiment. And then I want the movement here in those wings. And then just to finish off, of course, we've got those little tiny flowers. I just felt as if it needed a bit of something. Now then I've got, is it going to be possible to get those little tiny pieces off? Right, get rid of the tweezers for a minute. Get rid of the little bits. And I put these on the back because there was a hole in the centre of the flowers and I wanted to stick the beads on. I knew the glue was just going to go straight through. So I put these little pieces on the back to hold the glue, but they will actually be sufficient to hold them in place because I don't want the whole flower stuck down. So we're going to join this bit together, all right, with a little flower here. And I've got 3 of them because that trio, you know, that sort of set of 3. I'm going to anchor the vellum a little bit more with one of the flowers down here. And then we're going to create that triangle effect and pop one up at the top of the sentiment up there. And you can see there how we've got that beautiful sort of arrangement there at the front of our booklet. And that might be as far as you want to go. You know, this could have a sentiment appropriate if it's a birthday, if it's a leaving gift, if it's, you know, whatever. This could be appropriate. I just went for the follow your dreams on this one as a generic sentiment. You might leave it there, you might fill it full of goodies, and that might be as far as you go. But we have got a couple more of the bits ready. So I'll bring my little dish back again. And I have got some of the clusters prepared ready. So we've got, let me get them all out and I'll show you what we've actually done. Put him away. You can stay up there. So again, stamping. This is where the mica stain came in. I actually blotted some of it up. It's got some splatters, which has just got that lovely bit of sheen. You can see this one I've done the same, just to tone down the amount of white that I stamped on. All right, so some of these are Tim Holtz stamps, some of them are from my stash, little bit of everything. I had a big pile of them out and just went to town. And again, just collating bits and pieces, okay? So these are, you've seen my heart dies. These are an old Stampin' Up die. Again, a go-to. I use these all the time. Just cut a couple of those. I've got those ready. Those are to go with this one, I believe, if I remember rightly. And then we've got a separate element here. So yeah, stamped elements. Lots of these are stamped. Little bits of scrap paper, tags in there. This one's stamped, this one's stamped. You can see that flag banner again. I've got a die cut. That's that same die cut label as we used with the vellum. Little bit more stamping, all those bits and pieces. And I am just going to follow the same as what I did on here. So I've not done this side. This has just got some, this is actually a rub-on from a piece of, now then, where did I put that? That usually lives in there somewhere. I've got a roll of, there it is, it's hiding, tape that has got these little bits of script and postcard elements on. So I've just cut one of those out. You can see that that's actually shiny. Added a couple of little snippet bits and another flower just to link it all together. Bit of Stampin' Up at the top. So that's that side. I'm not going to do that side today, but this side, you can see here, that's where this element is for. Now I did a bit of stamping down the top here, and then we've got this one, and all I need to do now, and you can see the scraps that I've used. Look, these are all scraps from that same, I got out 2 or 3 bits of paper out of the scrap stash and just die cut and had a play with everything. So this one is going to go across the bottom here, like so, just in that corner. And most of this is paper, so I'm not worried about having to build it up. I haven't added any foam tape in here because I don't want to create any bulk inside. and then my die cut hearts. So I have backed these onto a piece of card because they were very flimsy just in the paper. So that one is just going to go at an angle, and I'm just going to go sort of into that label at an angle like so. And that was that page sorted. You can see there. Put some bits away. We've got bits all over the place again. Just hold that down for a second. And that was that page done. And then if I open it up again, we've got the inside here. Now this one, these are handmade. Again, all those strips of paper that you have left when you've cut something down. So the strip of cardstock from cutting something down, stamped along it. And then I've just added a couple of my washi tapes. Got tons of these. It's like use them. So I've put a strip across the top, strip across the bottom, and I'm going to run one of these down here like so. So I am just going to mark, turn it round again so that I can see better. I'm just going to use that here, and I'm going to use my pencil to just mark across each side and then snip that with the scissors so that I've got that length. You could use the guillotine if you wish. Needs to be that 5 inches tall for this particular bit. And again, the raw edges. And then this one's just going to stick straight down there just to add a bit of interest on the pocket. And you know, you can add as much or as little embellishment as you wish. So I'm going to go straight down here. I'm going to leave it a little bit away from the edge. And again, full disclosure, I'll show you why this came about. You know, everything sort of has a reason. Let me just grab another quick drink before it goes too cold. Oh, it's getting a bit chilly now. I might have to warm it up later. Yeah, when I did this one, because I said to you that I was doing this, designing it as I went along. You know, we did the score line in the wrong place earlier. I did this on here. I had a score line underneath here that was in the wrong place. So I did the little rub out with the bone folder. But because of the nature of the pocket, it was still showing. So yeah, just stick something over the top of it. Now it's gone. If I hadn't have told you, you wouldn't have even known that it was there. So yeah, ways and means of dealing with lots of things that are sort of little errors along the way. Don't think, oh, I've got to throw it all away and start again. You can easily, even if it was just a line of the washi tape down there, if you don't want to go to all this trouble, you could have popped a line of washi tape down, or even just a little thin strip of one of the pieces of cardstock that linked in with everything, thin strip of that, and just put that down it. There's always a way of hiding those little mistakes that we all make. So that's that bit done. And then when I turn over again, we've now got that inside element here. So I'm going to decorate these 2 pages. So the field label went up in this top corner. Okay, and I'm just going to put glue. You can see where I've just stuck it all together, and I've used my embellishment glue just to stick all the pieces together. Bit on all the elements here. And then this one is going to go in that top corner. So we're going to go up here like so. And then I added to that, oh, steady Jan. Let's just leave that for a second because we use what was left of this under here. I can just see that bit popping out. Now I don't need all of it, but I don't need it for anything else. It was designed for this, so we will use it in here. So where did I cut it? I cut it, that bit's going under the edge. So yeah, we will use it because it's been designed specifically for this project. Because all of it's not showing, if you don't want to use it all, you only need the bit that's going to tuck under the edge of the embellishment. But in this case, I am going to pop it all the way across like so. And again, it was just a way of using it up. So I just need to refresh some of that glue on there now because it will have started to cure in the air. And then we're going to pop that one over the top. So yeah, I'm going to go across here like so and get that one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open it this way so that I've got a flat surface to press against, because this was actually back to back with the bit that we'd just done. So yeah, get that flat surface, get it pressed down. I've inked around all the edges of the pieces, and then we've got that piece on here like so. And then I've just stamped with one of my postmark stamps over the top of it in the corner just to add a bit more interest. Now this was a die cut. I was busy die cutting something else, and I thought, oh yeah, it's a bit random, but who cares? You know, it's artistic license, isn't it? You can use pretty much anything as embellishments. You know, and if this is not your thing, you could put something else there. But I just thought, you know, that livens up that top edge there. And then we've got this last little cluster, which is going to go down here. So I've got a bit of scrap paper that's got a little bit of that mica staining on it again. Again, I went around just mopping up the bits that were left. This is stamped in wilted violet. All the purple elements on here are stamped in wilted violet. I took out my colour chart and I was having a look at which I thought was the best match. Originally I went for Dusty Concord, but it was too blue. So we had a look at the chart and I decided that the wilted violet was probably a better match for it. So yeah, the colour charts are handy to have, the swatches, so that you can just pick and choose what you want to do with them. And then this piece here, again, I've got part of a label. I have got little tag, another little snippet, another little flower, just to keep that theme running through. And we are just going to pop glue on the back of all this and get that one stuck down. And then I will talk you through what's left. As I say, I'm not going to do every single part of it because it is quite repetitive and it's very personal to people. You know, you can add on to yours whatever you wish. You can follow my design. You can have a look through your stash and you can use bits that are similar. This one's been cut with a ticket die, just again to add a bit of interest. You know, I mean, there's all sorts of, oh, did you know, oh, my brain's just done a leap. I might recreate something like this. I'm just thinking Father's Day is coming up in June. And I've just had a flash of this being done in a more masculine theme. And it was the ticket that just created that, that kind of idea. And what I'm going to do, because Jan's brain is shocking, is I'm going to write this down. I'm going to put Father's Day folio and I'm going to put tickets just as a reminder of something that I could do with this, because I'm thinking all these little tuck spots that you've got, you could create the tickets for Dad and you could actually write or print on the tickets, make you a coffee, take you to the cinema, what's your favourite TV programme, and he could cash in the tickets with you. You could put them all in the pocket as sticking out, you know, as a sort of little embellishment stuck out of the pockets here, and he could actually cash them in. You know, sort of wash the car for you, all those little things. He could say, right, well, I'd like you to do that today, I'm going to cash my ticket in, and have them in there. I love that idea. I might have to revisit that later in the year when I'm doing some Father's Day projects. Have these moments. They often happen at 4 o'clock in the morning, and you won't be surprised to know that there is a notepad and pencil at the side of my bed for that reason. Write it down, Jan, because when I wake up in the morning, couldn't remember it. No, I've had this fantastic idea in the night, but couldn't remember it. So I'm waffling. Let's pop this together. Let's pop this one together and see. Oh, well, I'm going to come back to that in a second. So let's have a look at them side by side now and see which bits we've done and which we haven't. So the front, pretty much recreated. All right, looks beautiful. I'm really happy with that. Let me just pop the my glue shouting out to have its lid back on before it dries up. So that's that. We're going to open them up, and as I said here, this was just a scrap again. You know, it's that same paper that came from here. It's just a little scrap that was left that measures 3.5 by just under about 2 3/8. Got a little tab on there, stamped a number on it. I also included some of the silver grey. It's got like a silver element in it, washi tape again. I've got a bit on the tab there, and I just thought that'd be nice. You know, if you've got any notes, you can actually write down on the back of there, or you could write a little message on the back of there. What I am going to do actually, while I've got that out, for some reason the washi here is lifting, so I'm just going to run. Come on, don't let me down now. Right, there we go. Just underneath there, I'm just going to run some while I think on. some glue under it. I think it's with keep folding it backwards and forwards. I haven't put the washi on this one. It didn't really need it. I'd put it in here. Now we've got glue everywhere, Jan. Let's get rid of that. And that should hold it in place. It's because I've keep folded, and I think I've caught it with this and lifted it. So yeah, that's what I've done in there, and I showed you the sizes for the piece of paper if you wanted to cover it on the inside. This one we've pretty much recreated. I've just got a bit of stamping on here, and then when we open it up, you can pop your chosen gift card inside here. Okay, that's that one. And then on this side, all I've done here for this one is a little bit of that washi. So this was actually wider than what I wanted, so I've just stuck it down and cut it with my craft knife so that I've got smaller pieces, and run it along here. Bit of stamping, another one of those snippets, and a little flower, just keeping that theme going all the way through. And then I made this little envelope, again that same paper. You can see here, look, it's all part of the same piece of paper that I pulled out. Again, I have a die that cuts this out. This is from one of the Tim Holtz sets. If you have an envelope maker, I know there's the Memory Keepers one. I've got one that Crafter's Companion do. You can buy the little envelopes on Amazon. You can buy packs of them. But yeah, I just thought it'd be nice to slot something else in there, and I've just stamped on the front of there. So that one went in this pocket just to fill it. So we've got that one sorted and that one sorted. When we turn it over, I've done the embellishments here. The only thing that I didn't do was a little bit of stamping. I've got the little bumblebee again. I've got a bit more washi. So again, I've got a pile of them out here that I've used. I've just got a little bit more across here. I forgot that bit, but that went across the bottom there just to add a bit of interest. Again, it wasn't that one, Jan. Doesn't look the same. It was that one. Just these little thin ones are just nice to add bits of detail on there. And I've not done the tag. So again, if you wanted to do the tag, this measures 3 inches by 5. So it's the same height as the book. And then I've used that same, this is a die that makes the tabs. That's the same one that was on here. So it's just a die cut that I've cut out. And again, bits of the scrap paper, you can see it appearing again here. And again, this evolved because this bit of paper wasn't long enough for what I wanted to do. It only came to here. Drat, it didn't fit. It fit beautifully with the colour scheme. So yeah, we've just torn it off and added a bit of this other scrap underneath it, make it work. I've left the back blank. I thought you could pop a message on here, and that just slots nicely in here. Okay. And it went in this one. Like so. And then, as I say, we've got that envelope at the back. So we're pretty much there. It's just, I've just escaped a little bit of the decor. We did this bit here, just so that it doesn't go on forever and ever and ever and a day. But you can see this is the one that I made originally. This is the one I've done on camera. So I'm not going to add extra. You might be saying, right, where's the gems? You've not got the gems out, Jan. I did consider whether it needed extra gems, but I have got them in the flowers and I have got them on here. I've not added any on the inside because I didn't want to create any bulk. On the little flowers that appear on the inside here, I've got my little pot of, these are from a die. I think I've showed you these before, a die that cuts out a circle. I've got a scrap of it. I just so happen to have a scrap line here. Look, I can see it. It's quite a big die that cuts out a shape, but all the little inserts from inside, I've got these are silver. There's a few little rose gold ones in the bottom there, and I've got a pot with gold ones in that I think came out of here. They're ideal for the flower centers here, just so that there wasn't any beads inside to make it too bulky. But again, you know, this is me keeping absolutely everything. So yeah, I'm going to leave that one for you to have a look at there with the tag. I've just added some silver twine just off my roll here. Just at the top, I've got eyelets in some of the items. I've got an odd one here, just as a part of the decoration. I've got one in the little tag, just here as part of decoration, and I've got one that was functional. So yeah, just adding bits in. So yeah, hope you've enjoyed that one today. I apologise if it's gone on a bit longer than usual. I did want to get sort of as much in as I could. But again, the whole thing behind this was making that folio out of that one sheet of paper. If it's something that you've enjoyed, you know, if you've got a use for this kind of thing, you could put the little folios together using some of the papers out of a paper pad, just keep them as folios flat in a little box so that you've got them ready made. You could do the embellishments when an occasion arises, you know. So for example, if we're going to do one for Father's Day, or if you've got a, you know, a special birthday coming up that you want to add some extra little gifts in, you could decorate it accordingly for the person, you know. Choose one, make them in different colours, choose one that suits the theme, and take it from there. So if you've enjoyed it today and you like this style of crafting, let me know down in the comments. I would love to hear from you. I do read all your comments. I do try and acknowledge all the comments and reply if someone's asked a question. If I haven't, give me a nudge. And yes, I'm going to go and get ready for my day now out with the boys. We're going to the farm to see some. We've got a little animal experience, and I'm really looking forward to it because I can see the sunshine already. So yes, I'm off to do that. I'm going to go and warm my cup of coffee up and enjoy the rest of my day. So whatever you're doing today, have fun, and I'll see you very soon. Bye bye now.